So guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, welcome back to the UCC truck build. So today's an exciting day. We can finally set the truck back on the ground because we got our components in from Menacer Motorsports. We got our coilovers in. They come via Hardway Performance, and I actually got bolts for the front control arms finally too. So we'll be able to hook our control arms up, get our coilovers in, and set this thing back on the ground rather than being on jack stands like it is currently. So over here we got this box from AFCO right here. Which are our coils, and then our box from Menacer themselves, our coilover shock. So there's our shock, there's our coil. We should have other components in here for our coilover. Here's our little caps for it and our adjuster screw. So we got coilovers for the truck. So we'll be able to finally utilize our new spring mounts that we made, our front forelink, all that will be done, finished, and taken care of. And we'll be able to, set the ride height of the truck, get it exactly where we want. The reason that we did this was, one thing, to lose weight. So this factory setup here weighs 47 pounds. All this stuff with the coil bucket, the bracketry, which is, I think, over on the table. Actually, it's right here. This whole setup, this is all 47 pounds per side, so 94 pounds total, and we're replacing it with, I don't know, not much, maybe 10 pounds between this, our brackets, and our shock hoop. So we're doing quite a bit of weight savings, but the other point of it is to try and control the axle properly. So we will be able to put limit straps on it if we need, but going to the coilover, my hope is that we can control how the front end of the truck reacts without using limit straps. So in my opinion, kind of trying to do it the right way, as opposed to the limit straps. Do the limit straps work? Yeah, when we strapped the truck down in Florida, it hooked and booked and everything was good, but I want to try and do it properly, and then we can mess with it and maybe fine tune it and hopefully get the weight transfer perfect to where we're not spinning that front tire, but we're getting as much weight going toward the back of the truck as possible. At least that's the goal. Now, this thing will be more than capable of being bound up with a limit strap if we need to. So that option still is there. So if we go to Cecil, we can't quite get it dialed in or whatever, we can throw a limit strap on it and we'll figure it out later, kind of deal. So that is the plan, is to get the truck back sitting on the ground and just get the shocks, the coilovers set, so that way our ride height is where it is right now. We can pull our spacers out and just have the truck sitting how it should and looking proper. So that's the plan. We'll get our control arms all hooked up, buttoned up front, and then we'll get our coilovers assembled and installed, and man, they're gonna look sweet now. I can't wait. So that's the game plan. Let's get to work. All right, so our Menacer coilovers are in, looking good. Definitely looks killer with those things. It's gonna look even better once we get the front end down. yeah, that just looks proper proper race truck. I'm digging it. That looks sweet. Man, hopefully they perform as good as they look. I'm sure they will. When you order these things, they're not like an off-the-shelf thing. So we gave the guys at Hardway the information on the truck, like our power output, or at least our expected power output, the fact that it's front-wheel drive axle, front-wheel drive axle and a four-wheel drive application, that it's a 4-link front end or control arms, and the weight of the vehicle, what the weight bias is front to rear. So these things are specifically valved for the truck. So the valving will help, you know, that helps with these things being the behemoths that they are, you know. And a normal AFCO coilover, yes, it might be able to do the job, but it probably won't do the job as well as something that is specific to the application. So one thing I did notice when I was putting them in, like a normal shock will extend when you just, you know, when you unwrap it, this wouldn't. So when I would jack the truck up to try and move stuff around or adjust the ride height, then it would pull the shock up, but just sitting there, it wouldn't come up. So hopefully they're gonna do what we want them to do. We won't have to use limit straps, and we can just kind of do it the right way. So like I said, looks great. Over here on the passenger side, looks even better because, well, we got a big old Garrett turbocharger sitting there to look at as well. So yeah, definitely digging the look. Definitely makes for some more room, but yeah, the aesthetics of it, that was worth the effort. That looks dynamite. So the next thing we're going to accomplish tonight is we're actually going to repin our exhaust stack. So if you guys remember when we were down at Hardway, every time that we had it on the dyno, the exhaust pipe would just start to rotate down because the force coming out of this thing, the V-band just couldn't hold it. So as you guys can see here, I have an Allen key in there, so I already drilled it out. It's to 1/8 of an inch. So this is an 1/8 inch Allen key. So when we did this before, we did it with a roll pin. I thought that would be enough. So I actually went a little bigger. I think 1/8 inch is a little bigger than the roll pin that was in it. So got the roll pin out. Got an 1/8 inch hex key in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tack that in, and we're going to go with a hex key and try the same thing. I know what you're thinking. You're trying the same thing. Well, a hex key should be harder. Not that a roll pin isn't hardened, but it's also a solid piece. It should give as well rather than snap. I was thinking about originally using a drill bit, but a drill bit would probably just shear off like our roll pin, whereas, you know, the hex key might flex a little. At least that's my hope. I'm thinking that will be stronger. If not, well, we'll have to drop back and punt, and then at that point we'll probably just make a bracket of some sort, but I'm trying to really avoid that. But I think this will work, but I thought the roll pin would too. So it's worth a try. When we were at the track the last time, I was able to get a ratchet strap over top, hook on top of the exhaust, and run across the engine for that pass that we blew our intermediate shaft, and it didn't move. So whether we just weren't on it enough, you know, we didn't have enough track distance for that thing to come over, I don't know, but the ratchet strap seemed to work. So worst comes to worst, I'll take a drill with me, we'll drill a hole in this, put a ratchet strap in it, and go from there. So we're going to try the hex key, and hopefully we fare better than we did with the roll pin. Menacer coilovers in and looking fine. I am definitely digging it. They look great. Got the Hoosiers on there. It's just, man, that just says race car right there. So that's all done. Also had to mount our brake hose because I failed to do that on this side. So that's good. It's not going to bind or anything like that. We also have our Allen key in our exhaust to hopefully keep that from twisting. If the Allen key doesn't work, I feel it will. It should be a good bit stronger than that little roll pin I have in. Like I said, it's a bigger OD, and well, it's not round, it's a hex key, but it's still 1/8 inch. It's still bigger than the roll pin was, and it should be a stronger material. So if that doesn't work, we'll be building a bracket. So anyhow, got that stuff all done. Coilovers was the main thing, but coilovers, our control arms are installed, our steering is hooked back up. As far as suspension goes, the truck is good to go. So very happy with all that. Definitely, man, that just looks awesome. It looks killer. And if they perform half as good as they look, we'll be doing good. So still have a bunch of stuff like our nitrous solenoid to remount and some wires to zip tie back and whatnot up front here. But that's going to do it for tonight on this project. So we got our coilovers in, so that means all our suspension stuff is done. I got the Hoosiers back on the front. I didn't take it off the jack stands yet because our next task is to install our Muldoon's 48RE with the Sancher input shaft and our Suncoast converter. So that means we're really dialing it in here. We're getting close to being able to take this thing back to the track. So it's kind of the goal is to, over the course of this coming weekend, get everything dialed in so it's ready to go. Maybe we'll take her for a rip up and down the driveway or whatnot, which now that I say that, I don't really want to do that with the Hoosiers because, well, rocky driveway, whatnot. But we have factory tires we can put on it. So yeah, we're dialing it in. Once we get the transmission in, we'll be about ready to go. I do have to put water in it for the winter. I did empty the radiator in case it got a little bit too chilly here in the garage. I didn't want anything to freeze, so that is drained. So we're gonna have to fill that and a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, but I don't want to try and rush and get to the track and then miss something that nobody would have thought of. We've had a diff cover off the front now. We had it off for like 3 months ago or whatever to do the rack and pinion. Never been filled. So we're gonna have to fill that up. Might be interesting with the rack. I don't know if we're gonna have to move the rack. It's not a big deal, but just stuff like that. I want to comb through the truck, make sure we got all of our bases touched and all that kind of stuff. So just check all the little boxes on the list and say, yep, we are ready to rock and roll. So we're getting there. Like I said, our Muldoon's 48 is going in next episode, which will be, like I said, next episode for you. I'm actually going to start it tonight. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Tell me what you think of the coilovers. Tell me those don't look sick. I mean, they just look awesome in there with our shock hoop. I'm thrilled with how that turned out. It looks fantastic. So anyway, guys, like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrenching on your truck.